Good morning, everyone. Here is your fun fact of the day. The 41st element, element number 41 on the periodic table, is niobium. Now, this element was not just simply discovered by somebody noticed it and they did a little bit of experimentation and they isolated it and said, hey, look, a new element. This element's history has a little bit more complication than that. The first governor of Connecticut, John Winthrop, actually first discovered it in a large compound. He realized there was something different about this way back in 1734. He sent it off to the British Museum in London, England to get it analyzed and further isolate and work with this new discovery. It sat in the collection for years until it was analyzed by Charles Hatch in 1801. That's almost 60 years later, after this guy's like, hey, there's something new here. Then generations later, somebody's like, oh, hey, there is something new here. Charles Hatchett could tell there was an unknown element in this compound, but he couldn't figure out how to isolate it. And he named this new one columbium. Now, the fate of columbium took a drastic turn when 7 years later, in 1809, an English chemist and physicist compared columbium to a couple other pretty similar compounds and declared that columbium was actually the already known and discovered element tantalum. This confusion arose because tantalum, the imposter, and niobium, our actual element in question, are very similar, always found together in the wild, and they are very difficult to isolate from each other. Niobium was then rediscovered by Frederick Rose in 1844, when he produced two separate acids, niobic acid and penelopic acid, from separate samples of columbite and tantalite. These acids, also being very similar, took another 22 years until a Swiss chemist proved that these were two distinct chemicals created, or synthesized, from two different distinct elements. Metallic niobium was first isolated by Swedish chemist Christian Blomstrand in 1864. So this whole process got started in 1734, and it wasn't until 130 years later, 1864, when we first actually got the pure refined metal niobium. That's a convoluted history. Today, niobium is still also primarily synthesized or taken from that first compound it was noticed in, columbite. Thank you for joining me for this fun fact of the day. See you again soon.